Management is process and resources. Leadership is brains. I don't need your arms and legs as much as I did before, because I can buy them overseas, or a machine will do it. What do I need? I need your mind. I need your creativity. I need your intellectual property. I need your initiative. Guy many years ago, his name was Wayne Jertmanian, he said, when someone does exactly what you want them to do, when your team is doing exactly what you tell them to do, let me clarify that. When your team is doing exactly what you tell them to do, now you're finished. Because things change so quickly in this world, it's not good enough. I say, go and do X. He goes, sees the client, realizes it's not X, it's X plus 1. What does he do? X. Then when I say, but the client's unhappy, I'm gonna lose the client, what are you doing? Well, boss, you said X. Now we have a problem. I need him to know, make a change, understand. What I need from him is buy-in. I need ownership from him. And good leadership is about ownership and buy-in. It's about good communication, getting that brain to be on board. If that brain is on board, now I'm winning. That's how you're going to lead people in the future. It is communication-based. It is brain-based. It's not having all the right answers. It's having all the right questions. That's what modern leadership is about. There's a second piece, sales side. Sales side. Those of you in sales, many of you I know are. Anybody here in sales right now? Awesome, lots of you. And many of you have been taught the goal of a good sales rep is to educate the client. You heard it before, right? Educate them, right? Completely not true anymore. No longer true. If you're in sales, you've been in front of a client or a customer, how many times have they known more than you? Yeah. A lot, yeah. They have Google. They have LinkedIn. They have resources you never had. In fact, here's the problem. They know too much. Your goal as a modern day sales rep is no longer to educate. It is to curate. That is your job now, to curate. I will show you how in a couple minutes. Curate is your answer. Communications key, not knowledge. Communications key, not knowledge. There's a book written recently, it's a book by Daniel Pink. Daniel Pink is a genius, by the way. He wrote a book called To Sell is Human. And in that book, if you're in sales, he discusses the idea of you being a curator, not being an educator. You educate, they fall asleep. You educate, they fight you. You curate, they're awed. Right now in the world of sales or business in general, you being an expert in your field is no longer impressive. You're supposed to be. Be an expert in your customer's field. Now you're special. Know what they're saying. Now you're special. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So it's all about communication. That's what I'm saying, about communication. Leadership in sales is about communication. But here we go. Here is the problem with communication. Two huge problems with communication. First one. We have a natural tendency as humans to need to be right now. Oh, you're laughing. To you libertarians. You are laughing. I gotta be right now. I gotta be right, and I need to let you know I'm right. You need to acknowledge that I'm right, and you need to tell her that I'm right. You don't do all those things, I'm mad. You can be right now. The best leaders can be right later. In fact, it's stronger when you're right later. It lands when you're right later. This goes right into the point that my two people who started this, right, Joe and Tyler mentioned the idea of being granular. If I put that seed in and then a week later they come back and go, boss, you were right. Guess what? They actually learned. They learned. They believe you. You were right. Being right later is stronger. Piece one. But piece two, we have a natural tendency to project ourselves onto others. That's what we do. Think about this. If I believe that you know exactly what I know, and you think exactly how I think. If I believe that in my head, he knows exactly what I know, and thinks the same way I think. And for a given problem, he comes up with a different answer. What do I think about him?
He's wrong.
He's wrong? But no, just wrong, worse.
Stupid.
He's stupid. Or?
Evil.
Yes, he's mean. He's stupid or mean. Guaranteed. If I believe, well, in this case, he probably is. I'm just saying, but for anybody else is what I'm saying. Other people. I'm sorry, other people. I apologize. Yeah, other people, yes. But you might think that's funny, but how is that going to hurt communication? I'm not going to talk to him now. I'm going to say, what's wrong with you? Instead of me thinking, maybe he just thinks differently. Maybe he knows things I don't know. Or I know things he doesn't know. Either way, different experience. This is a critical aspect. Now, Larry, does that happen every day? Every day. I'll give you an example. All right. I'm from New York, so that means I like my hot dogs with mustard and sauerkraut. Right? That's what I do.
Way to eat a hot dog.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Right? So that's what I like. So I said, hey guys, why don't you guys come over for a cookout? And you all come over for a cookout. What do? I make hot dogs. I put mustard and sauerkraut on all of them, give them out to you. Now I'm thinking, what a great guy I am. Giving you guys my hot dogs and mustard and sauerkraut, special sauerkraut I bought just for you guys. Now, some of you probably like mustard and sauerkraut on your hot dogs because some people do. So some of you do, obviously, right? But a bunch of you don't like mustard and sauerkraut on your hot dogs. Some of you don't even like hot dogs. Now, when I give you that, those of you who are not eating now, who just take a look at it, what do I think now when I see you?
Ungrateful.
You ungrateful people. Made these hot dogs, you won't even eat them? Wow. And what do people think when you're sitting there with a hot dog with a wet bun from all the sauerkraut? You don't like it. What are you thinking? Larry, what a jerk. Why'd you do that? Did I ask for this hot dog? Exactly. That's communication failing. It happens in business, it happens in life, it happens in politics every single day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Two aspects for this I want you to think about. Listening and questioning. Does anybody here know what listening is about? Go ahead, please. Oh, yes, I saw that. I saw that. You can't hide. Go ahead, please.
I think listening is about being open.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when we listen, we always think about how we're going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody used the term active listening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just watching what's coming out of somebody's mouth, but it's also watching the nonverbal cues.
I'm going to go one step further because people often say that. Active listening means, to be clear, between listening and hearing, right? Active listening is hearing with purpose. There's a purpose. As a general rule, you are totally correct. When someone says, Larry, I like something, I like it too, right? That's what we're talking about. Ourselves. Here's what I like. When you think about two separate phrases when you're listening to somebody. One, why do they care about this? Number one, why? Why do they care about this? And two, what are they thinking? I want you to think those two questions when you're listening to someone. Those two questions, that's it. Because here's the thing, people think the words we say is what we're actually saying. It isn't. Communication has one goal, to get what's in my head into your head. That's it. To get what's in my head into your head. I use words because I think that will work. If I thought something else would work, I would use that. Right? The words I'm saying, I'm hoping they get what I want into your head. They often don't. I might use nonverbal cues. I might use friends, I might use pictures. I might use PowerPoint. But I want to get what's in my head into your head. So if you're actively asking what that is, you can communicate better. You can see shut communication down faster by being more effective. I'll give you an example. Anybody here remember what they did last weekend? Anybody? Okay. Anybody here also prepared to share a bit in front of the group? Anybody? Remember what they did last weekend and prepare to share? Anybody here? You in back? Great. Go ahead. Is it Sean? Is that right?
Yes.
Sean, great. So Sean, please, if you would, tell me a little bit about what you did last weekend.
Last Friday, I drove 14 hours to Nashville, Tennessee to be at a family wedding.
It's so funny. I was in Nashville about, I don't know, maybe a year ago. It is growing like there's no tomorrow, right? You love Nashville. I love Nashville. It's a good city, right? Great. I'm listening, right? Some of you say yes, some of you say no.
No.
No, I wasn't listening at all. I wasn't listening. Please tell me exactly the same thing again. Say it again.
All right, last Friday, I drove 14 hours down to Nashville for a family wedding.
Wow, your family is important to you, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
14 hours is a long ride. Now I'm thinking, what is he thinking and why does he care? Now I'm listening. What also happens is because he wants to get into my head that he cares about family and he'll drive 14 hours. If I ask that question, he says yes, he'll stop talking. Because what was in his head got into my head and I validated it. I will have a shorter communication and be just as effective. Versus going, yeah, right, okay, yeah, I went to Nashville too. And then he goes, yeah, but my family, and he keeps talking about his family. And I keep talking about family. Now we have an hour conversation and he is not even sure that what he wanted to get across came across. And this is being done at an unconscious level. He doesn't even know it. It's unconsciously. So if I ask that question, he'll say it. What if I was wrong? What if I say, so you care about family? No, not at all. It was punishment. I did it because of my wife and blah, blah, blah. Well, now that came across. Good. In either case, I shortened the conversation but was more effective. Does it make sense? I got what he wanted to say, got into my head. What if he didn't know what he was trying to say? Happens too. He doesn't know what he's trying to say. I asked the question. I will clarify his message for him. He'll go, no. What I'm trying to say is this. That works in sales, that works in leadership, that works in business, that works in relationships, that works in family, friends. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What happens when someone's in one of your meetings and you got the one guy who raises his hand and wants to ask a question, but what he's really trying to do is say, look, boss, I'm smart. Oh, yeah, right, that guy. Look, boss, I'm smart. Right? All you have to say to that guy is, wow, that's very insightful, very good. He's quiet. All he wanted to do was be recognized. So he wanted. That's smart. I like that. It's good. Oh, great, boss. Quiet. You don't do that. He keeps asking questions. He keeps fighting until someone goes, you're smart. We get it. You're smart. I'm serious. You guys have seen this happen before. This tactic works in every dinner table during Thanksgiving. Your uncle comes by, and I'm telling you, Trump's playing 4D chess. Right? Let me tell you how he's playing 4D chess. Blah, 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 going on and on and on. You start fighting him, that's a 3-hour conversation that you're not going to win. One thing, no, I see you thought through Trump a lot. I'm glad you thought through Trump. Thanks. Yeah, I did. Done. Conversation over. Right? All he wanted to do was validate his vote. That's what he was doing. He was at that table to validate his vote. You validate his vote. I'm glad you thought through. Good, well done. Done. And that's common with everyone. Often people don't even know it. So what I want you to start thinking about is, when you're listening, those two questions. Why do they care? And why would they even say this? What are they thinking? You do those two things, ask those right questions. You do that, you can even interrupt. I interrupted you while you were talking, didn't I? In the middle of your chat, I stopped you, I interrupted you. Interruption is fine if the focus remains on the speaker. Interruption is not fine when you shift the focus on you. Does that make sense? People don't mind being interrupted if you're keeping the spotlight on them. No, that's not awesome enough. Please be more awesome. Of course, yes, and they keep being awesome. No, still not awesome enough. Be more awesome, please. I can interrupt him all day long. If I keep telling him be better, be awesome, be cooler, he'll keep doing it. So keep that peace in mind. It's okay. Focus on them, get it out. But here's the best part. People, you mentioned this earlier. What happens if I'm doing an asymmetrical conversation where it's just them talking, right? Well, here's how I stop that. Instead, I ask them the appropriate questions. They get what they want out. When they get what they want out and they know that they've been heard, what will they do to me?
Start asking you.
You got it. That's how I break that right there. That's how I do it. If you want to stop having that asymmetrical conversation, ask the right questions so they can get out what they want out. Once it's out, they will feel calm, cool, collected. They will then ask you. And when they ask you and you talk, guess what? They'll listen. Critical piece. If they ask you, they will listen. If they don't ask you, they're just waiting to be told. Whatever, I'm not going to tell you something. We okay? So keep that in mind when we're communicating. So how does that work in leadership? Number one thing, when it comes to leading, popped out, apologize. When it comes to leading, number one thing to remember is, as I said earlier, leadership is not about knowing what's right. There are 3 parts of leadership. First one is the doing. Now here's an issue. Most of us, we learn by doing, right? We go out and we do something, we learn, we're good at it. And now we're good at it and they promote us because we're good at it. That's great. I'm glad you're good at doing X. That's wonderful. But let me ask you something. Can anyone here think about a good leader in their world? Whether it was a manager, a coach, a teacher, a trainer, a supervisor. Does anyone want to talk about a good one they had? Anyone feel comfortable asking? Go ahead. Please tell me a little bit about that person.
Okay. In high school, I didn't even like school that much, but I had an orchestra teacher named Mr. Jones.
Okay.
And
What was good about Mr. Jones? Why was he a good leader?
he could say a lot with very few words.
Ah, okay.
And he said more in his presence and his care for people.
Wow, I like that. Good. Anybody else have someone? You've all had bad leaders. Okay, yes, there's one. Good. I'm sorry?
You asked for good leaders?
Yes.
I worked with a lady right when I was out of college named Joyce.
Okay. What was good about her?
She, every time someone would come to the counter for sales, she'd put chocolate out. Like, how's your day going?
Nice. I love that. Now, 2 separate people that I asked in a random room. I could have got any answer whatsoever. Here's what I never get. Man, when it came to Excel, he was awesome. He was the best Excel spreadsheet. I've never seen one who's most savvy with Excel. Oh, with a wrench. When it came to the wrench, she could just crank that wrench like there's no tomorrow. Who knew more about plumbing than her? She was the best when it came to plumbing. Never heard that ever. Because good leaders are about soft skills. That's where the doing part, while it's valuable, you have to move to the second two parts. And that is deciding and then empowering. 3 levels: doing, deciding, empowering. Doing is not soft skills. Those are the hard skills, technical skills, and valuable. I don't want to say that technical skills are not valuable. They are valuable, absolutely. What I'm telling you, though, is to be a good leader, they're not enough. It's not enough. I'm the best at doing. Great does not make you a good leader. It's why so many leaders fail, particularly in sales, by the way. Because most of the time, the sales VP is promoted because they're good at selling, not because they're good at leading. So sales leaders are notoriously bad. Notoriously bad. But also 3 fields: tech, finance, law. Those are notoriously bad. Because technical skill is so important in those fields. So critically important in those fields. To make those steps up, they struggle tremendously. If you're in that world, you've probably seen it. Right? You've probably seen it. So doing, got that. Next is deciding. Deciding is the next level. Right? So I was doing something, that's awesome. Now I get promoted. I'm a supervisor or manager. Now I don't do as much. I still do, but I also say, no, you should be doing this. Change, do that. Change, do that. But here's the best part. Now when there's problems, people come to me, and I solve the problems. Boss, I don't know what to do. Is it A or B? Do A. Boy, am I cool. I told them to do A. I'm a good leader. Do A. Love that. I'm right. Boss, how do I fix this? Fix it like this. Great. Awesome. But here's the problem. Now as a leader, you're more judged based upon the outcome of your team, no longer just you. What happens when your team doesn't do well? What do leaders usually do? They work harder. They work harder. So now I'm a leader, so what do? I work harder. But let me ask you, the best leaders, the most tip-top leaders in the world, do they work hard?
They work smart.
That's correct. They do not work hard at all. They don't work hard at all. Somehow they find time to go to the gym every day, don't they? They find time to go on vacation 3 months out of the year. The best leaders do. They find time to do this all the time. They find time to do all kinds of crazy things. They find time to do charity work. They find time to support political parties. They find time to open up new businesses. They find time to be on TV to do whatever, the latest Shark Tank TV show, right? They find time to do that. They find time, yet they're still running a business. Good leaders realize your job is not to do things. Your job is to ensure things get done. That is a critical nuance that leaders have to understand. Your job is not to do things, it's to ensure that things get done. And that means communication, and that means buy-in, and that shifts into empowerment, the third piece. If we focus only on the second piece, and most people never work past the second piece, they stay right there. But now you gotta work harder and harder and harder. So you'll become one of two types of leaders almost always, in some format. A martyr or a tyrant. Here's the martyr. It doesn't work. Fine, Tyler, I'll do it. Oh, God. That's the martyr. And the martyr always says, boss, I tell them, but they don't do it. They just don't do it. It never gets done. I tell them, that's the martyr. Right? I tell them they don't do it. Well, why don't you do something? I've been telling them. I told him like 5, he won't do it. That's the martyr. Right? I'm the one now. I work till 9. He goes home 4:30. He goes home 4:30. Here's the worst part. Here's my team. Here's my team. Right? I'm the supervisor now. I'm the martyr in this case. I'm the martyr. He's awesome. Does a great job. She's pretty good. They're okay. This guy, right? What happens? As he messes up, I start giving you more of his work. I take his work because you'll do it right. When you're over, I give you some of the work. So he goes home 4:45 every day. Crappy work, goes home 4:45. They're in the middle. What does he start what has started happening to him?
We'll stay later and later.
Later and later with me. With me. We're both burned out. I'm making him a martyr too. I'm making him a martyr. My example is making him a martyr. They see what's happening. What do? They become, yes, they become this guy or they leave. They become this guy or they leave. One or the other. So I'm asking them, they go, wait a minute. If I do nothing, I get the same pay, go home 4:30? I'm gonna be this guy. They become this guy. You leave for sure. Does that make sense? Because I'm the martyr. Second type, the tyrant. Tyrant says, why not do what I do? But they're actually saying is, why aren't you all me? Why aren't you all me? That's really the tyrant. It will come out some other way, right? But what they're actually saying is, why aren't you all me? The tyrant's insulted by you and punishes you heavily. Punishes him heavily and ignores you. You're ignored because you do what you're supposed to do. You're ignored. You are punished heavily, right? I'm scolding you, angry at you, all those things. Now what happens? These guys get afraid to act. Their innovation and initiative is stifled completely. They only do what they're told and nothing else. He's always yelled at. He has a problem though. He's ignored. Either he becomes like them and I'm not going to do much, or he leaves. How many times have you seen tyrants lose all the best people? Yes, they leave. Yes, all the time. But here's the worst part. The people in the middle, I've taught them the way to lead is to be a tyrant. I don't want you to be that guy. I don't want you to be that gal. It's the wrong answer. I want you to shift from doing and deciding into empowerment. What's empowering? It is leadership through questions. That's what it is. Leadership through questions. Period. Some of you may know I've been an officer in a public company twice. I've led organizations, sometimes international, and not given one order ever. Not given one order ever. Led the entire thing through questions, and only questions. I'm going to give you an example of this. He has a problem. He comes to me, and he says, boss, should we do A or B? What is my response usually? Do A. What should my response be? What do you think? Yes.
I was going to say,
What do you think?
I hired you to make decisions.
I said, what do you think? But here's the problem. And this goes back to exactly what you talked about, Joe. You brought up the idea of the child saying why. My kids say why to me too. I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. What do you think I say? Why do you think? That's how I taught my kids to stop doing why. That's how I taught them. Why do you think? I don't know, Daddy. I know you don't know. I'm asking you to think. That's what I tell my employees also. My juniors. Well, boss, I don't know if it's A or B. I know you don't know. I got it. I'm asking, what do you think? Well, I don't know. They will repeat it, particularly if it's a second chance issue, where you have been the one for years who has always given the answer. Now you've trained them to not think. You thought you were helping. You were not. You are training them to not think. So they don't think. You train them to give you bad work that you will fix. So they give you bad work that you will fix, because you train them to do so, of course. So he gives it to me, and I go, no, what do you think? He will fight me, because I am breaking precedent. I am breaking culture. Culture is, he gives to me, I give him the answer. I must go into what's called broken record. Anybody here under 30? Okay, a record is a disc made of vinyl that has music on it. Yes, so for you, maybe I'll say corrupted MP3 file. Is that better? Okay, so yes. So, broken record. Just say it again, say it again, say it again. Someone say, I know, I got it. Are you telling me you can't think? Come on. You can think. And they say it. Now, here's the second piece of this. This is challenging for you leaders. What if he's wrong? Boss, I think it's B. And you know it's A.
You gotta let it be wrong.
Sometimes you have to. And there's the hard part of leadership. It's a judgment call on you. There's no clear answer. Is this a critical piece where failure is catastrophic? This is my biggest client. If he messes this up, it's critical. Then I'm going to mentor him through A. If it's not, or I can create a false deadline. He's doing the first, I can get him to give it to you on the 15th. So if he messes it up, we can fix it. Let him fail. Great, B, give it a shot. Awesome. He goes off. Comes back, boss, didn't work. Didn't work, huh? Okay, let's try A. Mentor him through it. Now you're going to say to yourself, Larry, how can I do this? I got a business to run. It takes a lot of time. How am I going to do this? Yes, it takes more time. Yes, it does. But here's what I'm promising you. You will have longer conversations, but you'll have less of them. Because if you go through this, he actually learns. He remembers it, right? And he'll go back and tell others, because you mentored him through it. He will now mentor others through it. If you just go, do A. You've all had this happen. If you've been a leader, you know this. He comes to me this week and says, A or B, boss? Do A. Thanks, boss. Goes away. A week later, hey, boss, you told me, but I forgot. Is this A or B? It's A, man. It's A. Thanks, appreciate it. Goes back and does it. 2 weeks later, boss, you told me this, but I forgot. Is it A or B? You've all had this happen. You're saying, why am I telling you 7 times? Guess whose fault it is? Yours. Stop giving him the answer. You're training him to come back to you and do this, and you're wondering why you're getting it. You're getting it because you're asking for it. You are training them to do it. So stop. Ask the question. I had a saying in the Marine Corps. Some of you may know I was in the Marine Corps for 7 years. In the Marine Corps, we had a saying, and that was, there's never enough time to do it right, but there's always time to do it again. Yeah. So if that's a big client and it's messed up, you're gonna do it again. You're going to. Guaranteed, you will do it again. So how about instead of doing it again, take the time up front, do it right. This is called short-term pain for long-term gain. The problem is we often take short-term gain, short-term gain for long-term pain because it is easier then. People tell me all the time, but Larry, if I do it, it's easier. You're right. If I do it, it'll be right. You're right. Just a bad idea. You're correct, but it's a bad idea. Good leaders create more leaders. Good leaders create stronger teams. Good leaders aren't the smartest guys in the room. They simply aren't. You think that? You have a problem. I had a class I was teaching at Columbia. I taught at Columbia and at Yale in the past. A class in the master's degree level at Columbia, and a kid says to me, I shouldn't say kid, he's 25, but anyway, my head kid. Anyway, so yes. He says, he goes, Larry, you don't understand. Everyone in my group, I'm smarter than them all. And I said, okay, great. Do you think that that's the reason why you're a leader, because you're the smartest guy in the room? He got quiet. I said, not just that. Do you think you'll always be the smartest guy in the room? He said, well, class, yes. More importantly, isn't the actual power of leadership is being able to lead people who are smarter than you? Does that show what a good leader you are? What a terrible thing would happen to where my entire team is smarter than me. Oh, poor me. I hope my entire team's always smarter than me. I want everyone in the team to always be smarter than me. That'd be amazing. Good leaders turn smart people into smarter teams. So it's communication. Go ahead, please.
I just have two quick things.
Please.
Your example, I like, what struck me is you're like a servant leader. You know,
Yes.
Like a servant leader, number one. And number two, doing it over costs money.
Yes, it does.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
100%. So I'd rather do it right the first time.
yeah.
I'd rather do it that way. So will it take more time? Yes. But if you're going to do this, invest in your people. Right? Invest in them. They might say, but Larry, some of my people leave. So what? Some stay. Some want to come back. Invest in your people. You want to be in the habit of being a good leader, even for those who won't respect it. Not everyone will respect your leadership. Some will think you're weak or dumb or silly or whatever, and they'll leave. Fine. You shouldn't change your leadership because the people don't respect it. Who cares? Move on. They'll leave. I'll go one step further. What if you're middle management? And what if your bosses are bad? So you should be bad? Shame on you. Shame on you. You have bad leaders, still be a good leader. Let it bleed up, let it bleed down. Let your example bleed up and bleed down. What you have as example in communication, use it. What you have. Right? Use your example, use your communication. That's what matters. So I'll move to the empowerment piece. Always ask. I'm even going one step further when I say asking. Not just if there's a problem, even for a deadline. But Larry, we got deadlines. You don't understand my business, we got deadlines. If it's not done by the 1st, oh my God, the world's gonna end. Okay, great. So I gotta give him a deadline. No, you don't. Here's what you have to say. What's your first name again, I'm sorry?
Andy.
Andy. Andy, the project's due the 1st. When can you get it to me?
31st.
31st, awesome. Home run. Did I give him a deadline? Did I?
Not really.
No, he gave me one. Whose deadline is it?
It's mine.
It's his now. That's called ownership. I ask. If I go, need this by the 1st, he goes, shh, you said that. So he does. You said that, I didn't say that. I got stuff to do, I got projects. I got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. Andy, you told me the 31st. What happened? What happened? You said the 31st. Well, boss, this, that, this. But you said 31st. Not me, you said it. What happened? This becomes an integrity issue. This becomes an honor issue. This becomes a consistency issue. Way stronger than bad or good deadlines. Train your people to that, you will see how they respond to you. They'll start giving you deadlines. If you do it often, they'll come to you with deadlines. And that's how you want to train your people. You want them to come to you with deadlines. So keep making them. Let them come up with them. Now, what happens if I don't trust him? Happens. Work with people who don't trust sometimes. Of course, happens, right? He's failed me in the past. We don't get along very well. But my boss is not going to fire him. I can't fire him. I'm stuck with him. He's in my team. He says 31st. I know it means nothing to him. I know it. He doesn't respect me. He doesn't care. What am I going to do? I'm going to create a false deadline. But honestly, I'm not going to lie to him. No lying. Tell him the truth. It's due the 1st. but I'm concerned we're going to make a lot of changes to it. So I'd like it by the 15th. When can you get it to me?
15th.
15th, perfect, thank you. If he doesn't like me, he will say that date. He's going to give me any early. 15th at 5, right? He's going to say. That's what he's going to tell me, right? We don't get along. He's going to tell me that. Great, good. Now when the 15th comes and at 5, he's not going to have it. I knew he wouldn't. That's why I gave him a false deadline. And he's going to have every excuse known to man. Yeah, but the boss told me, but I said, but this happened, but you said, whatever. And my response is not going to be to fix this at all. My job is not to fix this. My job is to say, but you said. You told me. How are we going to fix this? What I'm doing here is I am removing blame and assigning responsibility. I assign blame, we fight. I remove blame, we don't. I assign responsibility. How can I assign responsibility? Because he said so. If he didn't say, it's my responsibility. Well, you said. How are we going to fix this now, Andy? You said the 15th. Stuff happened. I get stuff happened, but you said the 15th. How are we going to fix this? How's he going to feel about that? He's going to give me every excuse known to man. But this, but that. I'm going to go, okay, got it. How are we going to fix this? You said the 15th. But this happened and my shoes were brown. I got it. I'm hearing you. I got it. Shoes brown. Right. Okay. How are we going to fix this? You said the 15th. That's a hard conversation to have. That's not easy at all. Because what that is that's leading on behaviors. It's not results. Really hard. It's a tough conversation to have with somebody. It's hard. But the best leaders have tough conversations. And people either leave or they change. Life is good either way. Both are the right answer. Does it make sense, everybody? Yeah. So shift to empowerment. Asking, holding people accountable. But let's go one step further. What happens when things aren't getting done? And there's always some reason, some excuse, they don't know how to do it. They don't know. No worries. 5 questions you can ask. 5 questions you can ask when you're having a problem and no one knows what's happening or no one will tell you what's happening. And this only happens once you've gone back and forth a couple of times. You ask a simple question. Andy, do you not know how to do this? You ask if they know how. Now that may seem crazy, but you all had people who lied in their resume or didn't know what they were doing and were embarrassed to tell you, or it was a new task, they haven't done their homework. If you actually ask up front, right to their face, do you not know how? You'll be surprised how often you get an answer, well, yeah, I don't know how. Be surprised. Now this is my team, and this thing isn't getting done. And I ask him, and he says, no, I don't know how. My second issue in my head as a leader must be, wait a minute, does everyone else know how? Was anyone else able to help him? Now, if only he doesn't know how and the rest do, this is between him and I, we got to work on this. But what if they also don't know how? That became my problem. That's no longer his problem. That's now mine. Right? Either I'm not training, I'm hiring wrong, I got the wrong people in the place, something's wrong if most of my team doesn't know how to do their tasks. He might say, Larry, it's a terrible thing. No, as a leader, remember something. If you get the honest answer, it's the right answer, whether you want to hear it or not. Let me say it again. If you get an honest answer, it's the right answer, whether you want to hear it or not. You as a leader cannot fix a problem if you don't know about it. You can't. You can't fix it if you don't know about it. I tell my people all the time, I would rather hear from you that the world is ending instead of finding out the world's ending. Because at least I can plan for it now. Does that make sense? So get your people to know if they tell you, it doesn't mean they're fired. It means now we try to fix it. Because when they tell me, we're going to fix it. And probably they're going to fix it. I'm going to remove blame and assign responsibility. Does that make sense? Now how? It's the second one though. Do you not see the value in it? You don't think it's important? And you'll find, particularly those of you who work with professionals, it's a big problem. Because professionals think they know everything. They're professionals. Guess what? Sometimes they're right. Sometimes your juniors are right and you're wrong. You think it's valuable and it's not. Sometimes it's not valuable, but you must do it. You know, sometimes, this is going to be shocking to you guys, sometimes the government creates regulations that don't really help. I know you're shocked by that, but it does happen sometimes. You know, very rarely, sometimes the government actually doesn't help. Oh, no, sorry. This room is shocked by that. But yes, sometimes it happens. So they have to do something, but they see no value in it, and they're right. There is no value in it, but it's a rule or regulation. We have to do it. Or the client wants it, and the client's wrong. The client's wrong. And the client will not do it unless you do this thing. You're like, it has no value. Client wants it. The client wants it to have 3 buttons. We only need 2. The client said 3 buttons are nothing. Fine, 3rd button goes in. But at least that conversation makes the feeling better. It tastes better when you acknowledge it. Does it make sense as a leader? Acknowledge it. It tastes better. They still don't want to put the 3rd button on it. They don't want to because it doesn't make any sense. Why am I putting a 3rd button on it? But at least I say to you, tell her I get it, you're right. We should not have a 3rd button. You are correct. The client's not going to buy it. This is a 3rd button on it. Now, he still thinks it's stupid to put a 3rd button on it. But at least he'll go, fine, you know what? That tastes better. 3rd button. We'll do it. Does that make sense, everybody? You can ask if they find value. One more, ask a very simple question. Do you not want to do it? So, do you not know how? Do you not see value? Do you not want to do it? He might tell me, Larry, I don't want to do it. Great, now we can handle it. We can talk about it now. Got it. Do I need to change it? You're the wrong person. Should you be fired? Should I train you? Should I give it to someone else? Should we swap it? Same idea, though. Do you guys not want to do it? Only him? We have to work on this. All of us? My problem. Make sense? 4th, do you have resources? Do you have the resources for this? Here's the problem with this one. That one is almost always subjective. Almost always subjective. Right? I have a big retail store client that I have has like about 170 different stores. And whenever an individual store doesn't do well, you can guarantee when a district manager comes down to the manager and says, why didn't you do well? The manager always says, you didn't give us enough marketing. That's the reason why. If you'd have given us more marketing, well, then we would have won. We'd have made our numbers if you'd have given us the marketing. And the problem is very often the manager sometimes says, the district manager says, well, you're right. We didn't give you enough marketing. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can give you some more. That's a problem. Because in reality, they're not going to get any more. So if the resources are stretched and they don't have it, your job as leader is not to go, yeah, you're right. Let me give you an excuse now to be bad, which is what you just did. Let me give you an excuse to not make your numbers. In which case, why do we even have numbers? In which case, now my numbers are invalid. In which case, now my leadership is invalid. Look at what you've done by doing that. You've broken everything. Instead, tell you're right. You didn't get the right marketing. And guess what? No more's coming. That's our budget for the rest of the year. That's all you're getting. So let's talk this out. How can we still make our numbers with this amount of marketing? That is mentoring. That's leadership. Does it make sense? Now I'm saying, I got it. It's bad. You're right. Giving him respect. You're right. Now, how do we fix it with that? I don't know. I know you don't know. What do you think? Right? I know you don't know. What do you think? Here's the hardest part. What happens if I actually do know? I'm the district manager.
Be quiet.
Yes, I have to be quiet. Because here's what I know for sure. If I tell him how to fix it, it will not work. Why? Because he will rebel. And so will his juniors. He will rebel. Because I'm the one coming in and saying, you can't have Mark do it my way. He's going to rebel. Just keep coming out. Hold on. Let me move this. Is that better now?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Good. All right, so yes. All right, so in this case, I cannot give him the answer because it's my answer, not his. No buy-in, no empowerment, no questioning. Do you see how that goes through everything? This goes through everything. I have to say, how can we do this? Here's the hard part. I know what the answer is. I'm a district manager. I've had these issues before. I know how to fix them. I'm going to ask him. Why? 2 reasons. 1, he might have a better answer. He might have a better answer. And I'm going to stifle that by giving him my answer, which might have been good last year, maybe won't work this year, or might have worked in that county, but won't work in this county. So I ask him. He might know. I got the answer, boss. This. All right, let's give it a shot. Now, what if he's wrong? Next month now comes, can't make his numbers again. Made the changes, doesn't work. Now what?
Mentor.
Yes. What I don't want to do is what so many of us do. All right, now you ready to listen to me? Will you do mine now? So many do that. I told you so. I'm right. I told you so. So when I'm coming to me saying, it didn't work, boss. Okay, great. What do you think can work now? He's like, wow, you're not mad? No, we got to fix this. The responsibility is yours. What are we going to do? Now, if he says, boss, do you have any ideas? I have one. This one over here, we tried this. Now that idea, which is my idea, is now a joint idea. He now has ownership of my idea. That's what I want. Now he will implement it. He will now implement my idea and it will work. Good leaders don't have to be right now. They can be right later. Because now it's strong. Now he will follow what I said. He believes it's right. And when the other store manager gets scared and starts complaining to him, these guys aren't giving us marketing. I hate that Larry guy. He's doing that. He goes, no. Try this thing. He's not going to say, Larry told me to say, this thing that we came up with. It's his idea now. He goes, oh, Larry didn't do it? No, Larry didn't know nothing. I took care of it. He's going to talk, and I'm happy. Let him talk trash. Fine. Right? Totally fine. Right? Oh, yeah, I'm the bad guy. He figured it all out. Awesome. You'll follow it because it was him. Now we start winning again. What do my bosses think when all of a sudden 2 stores that were failing are doing great? What do my bosses think?
You're awesome.
I'm a genius. I'm amazing. I'm a genius. He did it for me. But I'm a genius. Does it make sense? Empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. The last one is environment. Right? So I went through all 4. Now this is the 5th one, environment. And that is the environment stopping you? Meaning, I want this report done every Tuesday morning, but every Monday night I got you on a conference call with our office in Denmark. Well, how can you get the report done when you're on a conference call for 3 hours in Denmark? Impossible. I've created an environment where you can't do what I'm asking you to do. Or, we report to kind of different people, right? So I'm your boss, but you also have another guy who's your boss. And this guy's sucking up all your time, so you can't do my work. That's an environmental issue. If it's environment, it's almost always your job to fix it. Almost always. Environment's almost always your job to fix it. Because it's someone else, right? So the CFO is making him do all the stuff. Well, you can't do my stuff. I got to back you off or change what we're doing. One of the 2. That's my job as leader. Are we okay? So ask those 5 questions. The last question I'll bring up in leadership, and I'll end leadership with this, is the most important question you can ever ask. Who does what by when? This question is so critical. Who does what by when? This is the ultimate in getting buy-in, the ultimate in moving things forward. How many times have you been in a meeting with a bunch of people in your business, your company, your local county affiliate, whatever the case may be? Everyone's nodding their heads. Yeah, it's great. Oh my God, yeah, it's a great meeting. Yeah, oh yeah, great. 30 days later, nothing changes. Yes, all the time. All the time, nothing changes. Why? No one committed to anything. You as a leader, or sometimes not as a leader, have to say, great, this sounds amazing. Okay, who's doing what by when? And someone will say, I'll take care of it. Awesome. What are you taking care of? I'm not joking. Well, I'll do that thing. Great. What thing? I'll talk to the client. Wonderful. Is that a call or a meeting? Well, God, I'll have a call. Great. I'm happy. A call with the client. Great. By when? Soon. Great. When soon? What do you mean, like next week? Great. When next week? Tuesday. Wonderful. So you will have a call with the client by next Tuesday. Awesome. Thank you. I'm not joking. Do that 2, 3, 4 times in a couple of meetings. People do it naturally. You will change the culture. So people say, I'll take care of that. I'll call Bob on Thursday. Great. Done. I'll take care of Plan X by Thursday with Jane. Okay, great. Done. This will take a long time to change if your organization does not do that now. But you have to keep doing it. Broken record, sorry, corrupted MP3 file. Right? You got to keep doing it until all of a sudden they become trained to, this is what the boss expects. He expects for me to say what I'm going to do and by when. And they'll begin to change. The problem is it's a tough conversation. But not just that, I'm projecting myself onto you. When I say you'll take care, when you say you'll take care of it, I assume you're in my head. And what I think take care of is what you think take care of is. It is not. I should not project myself onto you. You and I may have very different definitions of what take care of means. And quick. Quick to me might be 5 minutes. Quick to you might be 5 months. Who does what by when? You do that, you will find your entire group moving forward faster, or even better, failing faster. And failing faster is good. It really is. How many times have people seen we have a project that's going to take 3 weeks? It takes 9 weeks. Yeah. All because know who does what by when. You do who does what by when, you figure out in week 2 who's failing. Now that project now takes 4 weeks instead of 9 weeks. Does it make sense? Every week this happens in companies all the time. Who does what by when shortens all that stuff. Any question or comment on that? Awesome. I'm going to shift into sales if I could. When it comes to sales, the concept's the same. I do not want you telling your clients what to do, telling your prospects how awesome you are. I want them to figure it out. I want them to figure out how awesome you are. I want them to believe that you're the right person. I don't want you to tell them that. If you ever tell them how awesome you are, you're not that awesome. You shouldn't have to tell them. They should know. They should figure it out. And one of these things is selling through questions. The same idea. I'm going to give you an idea on how to start questioning, an idea on how to end questioning in your sales process. And I'll give you one more piece on a success story, and I'll wrap this up. First piece, when you're beginning your sales, you're back and forth. Many of you are in sales, right? When you're doing whatever your Q&A is, whether that's, some people call it a Q&A, some people call it the conversation, some people call it the sales pitch, whatever it is. When you're doing your needs analysis, whatever you call that piece of your sales cycle. You have something good?
No, needs analysis.
There we go, perfect, needs analysis, whatever it is, yes.
Common in sales.
Perfect, yes, whatever you're going to call that phase. I want you to make your question a little bit different. All right, let me ask you. Who's in sales? Anybody in sales? Great, okay, can someone tell me a good question that you would talk to your client, ask your prospect? What's a good question for you? Anybody? None of you have good questions. You're all terrible sales reps.
What keeps you up at night?
What keeps you up at night? That a good question? Yes, no, maybe? Wow, you're losing the crowd on that one.
No, I think it's a great question.
Is it a good question or no? Yes? Yes, anybody? Yeah, good question, right? Well, you think no, go ahead.
I'm not even in sales, but what is the biggest problem you need solved?
It's similar to yours. It's very similar, right? What's the biggest problem? Or what keeps you up at night? Right, good question, right? No, it isn't. I'll tell you why. It's a generic question. It's a question anyone could ask. I could be in your field for 5 minutes and ask that question. I want you to ask questions that make you an expert before they even answer. How do we do that? Very specific. Fact first, open-ended. It's called an embedded fact question. So in this fictitious case, who are we talking to? Who's the prospect in this case? Just make it up. Who is it going to be?
Financial institution.
Financial institution. I love it. Okay. And what are you selling them in this case?
Computer software programs.
Great. All right. So I'm going to make this question up. You ready? So, Andy, so many financial software companies, so many financial companies, some of their biggest problems is when the software gets installed that something's going to fail and they're going to lose half their clients. That keeps them up at night. How about you? Same question that you just asked, but I embedded a fact first and then opened it. How about you? What's your situation? What are you thinking? That fact up front tells his unconscious mind that I'm an expert and that I can curate. I just curated. I said, people in your world think this. How about you? Now, what if he does think that? What if that's accurate? What happens? I'm a mind reader. Direct connection. Oh my God, yes, I'm afraid of that exact thing. Yes. Blah, 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 blah. Right? What if I'm not? What if you're not thinking that? But what I said's still true. I'm stupid because he says, yeah, most people think that. That's true, but I don't. What I think is this. He still goes blah, 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 blah. Either way, the more he's talking, the more I'm winning. Never forget that in sales. The more your prospect's talking, the more you're winning. The more you're talking, the more you're losing. Prospects should be talking, you should be like, right, You should have special neck muscles. When you go, right, yeah, sure, right. That's how much you should be nodding your head. Yeah, sure, of course, makes sense, yes. That's what I want. So start to make all your questions like that, right? The fact should be as curated as possible, right? You don't want to say, people think. No. Financial institutions, right? CFOs like you. Married wives with kids think. Specific. As close as you can get to the specifics you want. That issue, and then open it up. And all your questions should go that route. All of them. Can someone give me another question that you would ask? What question would you ask? You had your hand up.
I don't know if I could do similar.
Don't do it. That's fine. Go ahead. What is it?
What do you need?
What do you need? I love that. What do you need? People do all the time. What do you need? Similar question. But instead say, who are we talking to in this case?
What,
Who's the prospect in this case?
Oh, prospect?
Yeah.
They want to buy a specialty aquarium.
Okay, but who are they? Who's the person? Is it a family? Is it a company of putting it in their office? Is it some rich guy who wants to put a shark in his living room? I mean, who is this?
I'm trying to convince a musician to be in my band.
Musician, I love it. Okay, it's a musician. I love it. In this case, you might say, so most musicians, they want to use an aquarium to impress the women. I'm making this up, right? So when the groupies come over, they're impressed. That's why they want to have an aquarium. How about you? What a great question. Because you'll either go, yeah, oh my God, yeah, I want the chicks, yeah, that's what I want. Home run, now he gets you, you get him, life is good. Or, well, most do, but not me, what I care about is this. All good. Do we get that concept, guys? Take the question, fact first, open-ended. What's your situation? How about you? What were you thinking? Not yes or no. Do you? Is that true? Yes or no? That gets, yeah, open-ended. We okay with that? Once you've had a bunch of these questions and they're talking, you're listening, what are the 2 questions you're thinking about? Come on, guys, from earlier. Someone took notes. When you're listening, what are 2 questions you're thinking about?
What are they thinking?
What are they thinking? And why do they care? Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. As they're talking, I'm thinking, what are they thinking about? Why do they care? Not how I can tell them how we can solve their problem. Which is what all sales reps do. What a coincidence. We have the so-and-so plan. That'll solve all your problems. The second you solve their problem in the Q&A, you just shut your Q&A down. Now their next question is how much? That's the next question. How much? You shut your Q&A down the second you solve that problem. When you're listening, you are not listening for how can we solve the problem. What are they thinking? Why do they care? Right? In that case, we were talking about the financial guy, right? So really what you're looking for is you're looking for some way to just kind of sleep at night. Yeah, I am. Got it. Great. In this case, wow, so you want a lot of women, don't you? You want like a harem to come over. Yeah, that's what I want. Great, we got it. Now I know what we want. We're good. I get what you want. Here's an important piece. I never use needs analysis. I never use that phrase because people never buy what they need. They only buy what they want. Needing is a reason for them to want it. Right? Needing is a reason to want it. It's not what they buy. They buy what they want. But more importantly, they don't always want what you think they want. They often want something totally different. Wanting is what matters. All of you in this room have bought stuff you wanted and didn't need. Every one of you have. And every one of you have not bought something you needed. Every one of you. Because you're human. That's how I know that. That's what humans do. We buy what we want. Needing is a reason why we want it. Are we clear on that? If you find out what they want, you can win. All right, so next piece. Now I've got those questions. Now your final questions you're going to ask someone in this sales process. Final. You've gone through 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever's required in your world. For some of you, your needs analysis is long. For some of you, it's short, whatever that is. But once it's done, there are 3 questions. They're called the why questions. The first one is why now? Now, many sales trainers will teach you, ask the why now up front. That is a mistake. It is taught all the time and it is completely wrong. When you ask why now up front, you know what you get? Fog. We're just looking at things and checking things out. That is a lie. They're not. They have better things to do. They want something, right? Something happened. You ask the why now question later once you've had that back and forth, establish yourself as an expert, connected with empathetic, purposeful listening, they will give you a real answer. Here's my example, right? In this case, you're the CFO of some financial institution. And I say, so I'm kind of curious. As we've talked, you've mentioned you've had this software worry for about 1.5 years now. I'm curious, why are we talking now? Critical question. Note, I prefaced it with what I learned, right? I learned my first couple questions. I learned that he's had this problem for a couple years, right? So I'm going to ask, you had this problem for a couple years. I'm just kind of curious, why are we talking now? Not why you're going to buy from me now. Why are we talking now? See what he says. You may ask yourself, he'll say something like this. Well, just recently, we lost a client who got mad because our software didn't report well. What does he really care about?
Keeping clients.
Keeping clients. Doesn't care about your software. Doesn't care about your ability. Doesn't care about all the cool things it does. Doesn't care. Doesn't care about that. Doesn't care if it's cheap even. What does he care about? Stop losing clients. So stop focusing on, it's got this bell and this whistle. He doesn't care. What he cares about is, you'll stop losing clients. The reporting is super cool. Your clients will love the reporting. That's what you care about. Focus on that. I'm not to tell him about the bells and whistles. You can if you want to, but that's totally secondary. Primary is that. But it could be something even crazier, like, so why now? Yesterday, my boss got mad and yelled at me. I'm afraid I might lose my job. What does he care about now?
His job.
His job. His job. Doesn't care about clients even. Cares about his job. So what are you going to be now? Now your conversation is all about how safe it is, isn't it? Don't worry, it's safe. Boss is going to love it. Never fails. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care if the reporting is good. He doesn't care if the report is terrible. He doesn't care if it doesn't even work. As long as the boss is happy. That's what he cares about. You only find that if you ask that why now question. Does it make sense? If you ask it up front, you'll get fog. You ask it later on, you get a real answer. Now here's the difference. You and I are talking. In fact, he's competing against me. His is cheaper and has more bells and whistles. More. Cheaper, more bells and whistles. But I say in my pitch to him, man, will your boss be happy? I know your boss. I've spoken to him. What he wants is right here. I win. I win, not you. His product is better and cheaper. I win. Does it make sense? Give you a good example. When it comes to selling enterprise anything, right? Very often, two types of people who win. The cheapest or most popular. Cheapest or most popular. If the people who are deciding are partners in that company, very often cheapest. Why? Their money. If the people in that decision-making process are not actual partners in the company, very often biggest, safest. Very common. How do you break that? This. If you're not the biggest or the cheapest, don't waste your time. Do this or don't bother pitching. Do something else. Find another place to pitch. You're wasting your time. Make sense? This matters. One step further, the why you question. The why you question is like a why now, but you use this one only when there are multiple decision makers in the room. If he's the boss, only him, no one else, don't need to use the why you. But there's three of them. He's a CFO, and he's the one who brought me in. But she's a CEO, so she matters too, and there's your chief marketing officer. Three of them, right? So I've talked to you because you and I had a relationship. So I said, great, why do you want it? He tells me. They go, great. Great, look, Cindy, I get why he wants it. I'm curious, why do you? I'm going to ask the why you for everyone else I'm not talking to. Now, she can only say three things. What's the one thing she can say? Give me one. What can she say?
Same as him.
Same as him. I hope that's the question. And that's awesome if that's her answer, right? Great, same as him. Perfect, yes, life is good. Move on. What else can she say?
Something else.
Something else. He cares about the client, but I care about our investors. She cares about the investors. He cares about the client. Well, I better be able to talk to both, or I'm in trouble. If any of you have gone to a situation where you've sold to a group of people, 2 or 3 or 4 of them, it went well, and you didn't get the job, you don't know why, it's because someone was in that room and didn't tell you what their problem was. Shame on you for not getting it. You should have got it. You should have got it. So she tells me that. What else can she say? She can say same as him, something different, or?
I don't care.
I don't care. I don't want this. This is dumb. I'm here because he's my CFO. He said talk to you, but I think it's stupid. I'm going to do this at all. This is a bad idea. I'm going to change software, wasting my time and energy. Is that a good or a bad thing?
It's a good thing. It's an honest.
Great thing, yes. Remember, if it's an honest answer, it's the right answer. Because if she says, I don't want this, now I know I got to pitch her. Great, Grayson, thank you. Can you please tell me kind of why you don't want it so I can understand that? Not just that, no one else is going to ask that question. She's doing what she's doing right now the whole time to everyone there. The whole time, whatever. I don't want to be here. Why am I here? Now here's the problem. 3 of us are pitching for this. He never asked her. He never asked her. I did. She still thinks it's a bad idea, but the marketing officer loves it. CFO loves it. So she's going to acquiesce. Who's she going to pick?
The guy that asked her.
The guy who asked her. Remember something in sales. Whenever it's more than one person, consensus is not everyone saying yes. It's nobody saying no. And there's a difference. There's a difference, right? She says no to these guys. She says whatevs to me. I win. She doesn't want me. She'll tolerate me. At least he talked to me, fine, that guy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
The why you question's critical in a sales process. Now, everything I'm talking about is the same thing. Questions, questions, questions. I can be a brand new sales rep and do this. Brand new and do this. Brand new. Brand new leader, do this. You don't have to be an experienced leader. I hope you all are. You don't have to be. You don't have to be an experienced sales rep. You don't have to be. Do this, they'll gain knowledge. Listen the right way, the response will become amazing. The last one, why me? Why me is only used when you know this is a dog and pony show. Lots of people are pitching the same people, right? I know you're pitching them, I'm pitching them, and you're pitching them. I know this. So I ask, again, this is at the end of my sales, my needs analysis piece, right? I say, and I get, there's a lot of people who can do the software, a lot of people. I'm curious, why are you talking to me? The people all say, Larry, you want to ask that question?
Yeah.
What a terrible question to ask. I said, amazing question. What's he going to say?
I tell you your strengths.
Yes, he's going to reinforce how good I am. Now what if he brought me in and these guys didn't? He's going to pitch me to them. They haven't met me before. He's going to pitch me to them. Well, Larry, I brought you in because Sarah said you were amazing, and I love Sarah, and she's smart and savvy, so I figured if she said so, I want to talk to you. And now hearing you, I can see you're an expert by what you ask me questions, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, yeah, it's right, he's great. They're winning. He's pitching me. Isn't that amazing? Well, Larry, he might say, he shouldn't talk to you. He's going to admit that he made a mistake in front of his bosses? No, Larry, I'm stupid. I really shouldn't have brought you. I'm an embarrassment. I hope they fire me. It's not going to happen. Ever. It's not going to happen. But what if he does say something negative?
That's okay, it's an honest answer.
Yes, and now I can handle it. Remember, I'm saying this before I pitch. This is my needs analysis. This is my Q&A before they get the proposal, before they get the price, before they get all the goodies. Because during this, I am never pitching. Remember, I'm listening not with, how can I show you how I can solve that problem? No. I'm listening with, what are you thinking? Why do you care? Does it make sense? Now I get it all, even the negative. Larry, I like you, but this thing is terrible. Thank you. Now when I'm pitching, I deal with that issue. And I say, I know you mentioned that terrible thing about my company, and it's true, this is a bad part that we have, and here's how we get over it. Here's how we handle it. If I can get him to just go, whatevs, I win. Because I got a yes, and 2 whatevs. I still won. As long as I get no one saying no, I win. Are we clear on that idea? So bad information, good. I would always rather have bad communication over no communication. I can fix bad communication. I can't fix no communication. That's in sales, leadership, life, friends, family. I'd rather someone tell me they're mad at me than just be mad at me. Please tell me. Maybe I can fix this. Does that make sense, everybody? So spend some time doing that, and all of a sudden you'll find you'll get better responses. You get better back and forth, real information. And now when you're doing your pitch, you can focus on what matters to them. All right, last piece. I don't keep you too long. Last piece, and that is success stories. Talking about how good you are. You want people to believe how good you are? Stop talking about yourself. Stop. Talk about the people you've helped and the value you've brought. Talk about that. I'll give you a very simple way of doing it. 3 sentences. 3-sentence success story. 3 sentences. First one. What was the problem or issue that existed before you got involved? Second one. What'd you do? Or your team. You or your team. What did you do? Third sentence. The benefit that organization got from you. That's if you're looking for a job, an interview, selling, trying to get someone to believe you're right or wrong. Doesn't matter. So excuse me, as an example. I'm talking to this financial software company. I might say, you know what? It's funny you mentioned all these things. We dealt with Acme Financial Company, and they had a problem where all of their data would just kind of disappear all of a sudden for like 3 hours and no one could access it. Terrible problem, right? That's the problem. So what we did is we reinstalled our software and got all their data onto our platform. What we did. Third, now their data is always accessible, no matter what. 3 o'clock in the morning, it's always there for them. Perfect success story. That's it. Why so vague? Because if that success story matters to him, and he thinks it's important to him, what will he do? He'll ask more questions and verify. Yeah, who was that? When did you do it? How did it work? But the most important piece is whatever he asked me is what matters to him. He tells me what's important to him. So guess what? I can focus. I can curate. I can focus my answers and my pitch on what he cares about. He says, how fast did that happen? He cares about speed. I care about how fast we are. That's important to him. Matters to him. Right? So whatever the case may be, he asks the question, I know what matters to him. Success stories are not about you. Success stories are about the people or organizations you've helped, and then let them ask. It allows you to curate. Remember, the goal in sales is to curate, not to educate. Curate, curate, curate. Allow them to, you'll be focused. The more focused you are, the more effective you'll be. And now you can close more deals. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, I'm happy to take any quick questions or comments. If anybody wants to make one or ask me a question, I'm happy to take that now. Please go ahead.
When you're working with a team,
Say again?
when you're working with a team,
Mhm.
what if you have a tyrant that's a team member, they don't recognize it, and they're not an actual boss?
Yes, this is the tough part, right? What happens when someone on your team, it thinks they're the boss, or they're always right, whatever the case may be? How do you fix that? How is your boss acting, right? Is your boss supporting them as a fellow tyrant, right? That happens sometimes, right? That when a boss says this, I know Andy's a jerk, but he's right, so listen to him. Bosses do that, right? He's right, listen to him. Or does the boss go, yeah, I know, he can be, I've told him before, but that's the martyr, right? So is your boss the martyr or the tyrant? Recognize who your boss is and try to motivate your boss to handle it. But say you can't, nothing's gonna change. When people are being tyrants, remember something. People don't think they're being bad. Let me say it again. People don't think they're being bad, ever. Your tyrant thinks he's justified because he's right. He thinks you're the bad guy. I'm right. You should just accept what I have to say because I'm correct. When this happens, I'm very serious, question their behavior. Just openly question their behavior. Literally, you're going to say, well, you better do this, you better do that. He's one of those guys. I'm going to say, okay, I'm curious, why are you being so nasty? I'm serious. Why are you being so nasty? Well, you need to. I need to. I got it. Why are you being so nasty? Well, you should. I know I should. I'm asking you a question. Broken record. Why are you being so nasty? They'll walk away. They'll walk away. Right? He'll try it again, though, because, again, he's been trained to be a tyrant. He'll come back again. We should do it so-and-so. Why are you being so nasty? Fine. Please do so-and-so. That will happen. I'm serious. That will happen. And eventually he'll stop. Because remember, tyrants are bullies. Bullies will always bully the easiest target. When you're not the easiest target, they'll stop bullying you. They'll bully her instead.
No.
I'm serious. You've seen it before. You have people who are bullies to one person and not to another. Because Andy doesn't take my crap. He stands up to me. Well, then I can't bully him because okay, I'll bully you instead. Whole time. That happens, just question it. Just question it. And preferably in public. Because they will bully you in public. Right? So question in public. Don't question whether they're right or wrong. Question the behavior. Got to be clear on that. You're questioning the behavior. Do it a couple times. They'll have a price of doing it. They'll stop. Is that helpful or no?
Yes.
Question the behavior. Why are you yelling at me? But you should, I understand that. I agree. I should do that. Why are you yelling at me? You didn't think telling me would work? Do you think being nice would work? Do you think I like being yelled at? Do you think that makes me want to do it? Find your own words. I don't care what you say. Use whatever's appropriate in your world. You know him better than I do or her better than I do. Use the words that work, but question behavior. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Great. Anything? Any other question or comment? Go ahead, please.
What is your definition of curate?
Curate is, of all the information out there, what matters to that person. And often, it is not even their company. It is the individual person. Right? Sometimes a person simply wants to go home at 4:45. That's all they care about. So what does your product or service do to get them home at 4:45? Does that make sense? Sometimes it's saving their job. Sometimes it's saving money. Sometimes it's growing the business. It depends. It all depends on the person. All I'm saying is you need to know what that person wants. Curating is telling that person what matters to them. Is that clear?
They tell you.
Well, they will tell you what they want by your questioning. You will then respond from their answers by curating. Is that clear or no?
Respond from their answers by curating, so you're doing the curating?
That's correct. You are doing the curating. Yes.
You're figuring things out?
That is correct. Yes. Remember, you're always asking two questions. What do they care? And what are they thinking about? You're always thinking those two questions when they're talking so that you can curate your answer. Right? What you're going to do is you're going to give them all the Q&A, and then when that's done, here's my pitch. I don't want to give value throughout the sales process. And that is really against what many people teach. And the reason is, if you give value, like my sales process, my sales meeting is, say, 45 minutes as an example. Some of you that's long, some of you that's short, depends on what you sell. Some people it's 3 hours, some people it's 10 minutes, whatever it is. If I give value through the entire piece, and then give a price, what do they remember?
The price.
And the last piece. That last piece is not worth that price.
Yeah, that stuff's good.
All that stuff's gone in their head. I would rather just ask, benefit, price. Ah, that makes sense. Now, I can't give real benefits until I know what happens here. Then I know, that's what matters to them. So my benefits are benefits that matter to them, not benefits that I think are important. What you think is important in your product or service is irrelevant. Let me say it again. What you think is important for your product or service is irrelevant. Zero value. All that matters is what they believe is important. It's all that matters. What you're proud of, irrelevant. What you've worked hard on, irrelevant. They do not care. They care what matters to them. Tell them that. Big difference. Are we okay? Did I answer your question with curating? Mm-hmm. Good. Any question or comment? Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.